Now listen close, 'cause what I'm fixing to say wasn't meant to just stumble into your life by chance. Ain't no accidents in the place I'm talking from. The very fact these words are reaching your ears right this minute, on this very day, while your heart's carrying that heavy load, it's the first sign that the silence you've been living in is about to break wide open. I'm the voice that's watched over you longer than you've watched yourself. I've seen you in them quiet rooms where no soul followed. I've seen you in them late-night hours when the world's fast asleep, and you're still laying awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if anyone up above can still hear a soul as forgotten as you feel. And I'm here to tell you now, with a certainty no doubt of yours can shake, that you have been heard. Every single word, every whisper, every prayer you thought vanished the moment it left your lips. None of it was lost. All of it was gathered up, held close, and answered in a time you ain't ready to understand just yet. This here is the last call. I don't throw those words around lightly. They carry a weight most folks spend their whole lives trying to avoid. A last call ain't a threat. It's mercy stretched to its very limit. It's heaven's hand reaching out one more time toward a soul that's almost convinced itself it's beyond reaching. And tonight, or this morning, or whatever hour finds you here, the Most High has sent the Archangel Michael to stand right at the door of your life with a message you ain't allowed to ignore no longer. Not 'cause you'll be punished for turning away, but 'cause the cost of turning your back one more time is heavier than you know. Heaven's warrior don't come for the comfortable. He comes for the ones on the edge. He comes for those pushed to the very edge of their faith and told quiet and cruel they were never worth saving. He comes for you. Feel that stirring in your body right now. There's a reason a strange calm is settling over you. There's a reason the noise around you seems to fade, like a gentle hand's been laid over the chaos of your days. That ain't just in your head. That's the atmosphere shifting, because when a message this big is delivered, even the air bends to make room. You've spent so long believing the heaviness you carry is just who you are. You've worn your weariness like a second skin, so familiar you forgot it was ever put there and ain't meant to stay. But I'm here to tell you, that weight ain't your identity. That weight is the burden being lifted. And the only reason you feel it so sharp now is 'cause heaven's hands have finally grabbed hold to pull it off. I know what they told you. I know the voices that crawled into your mind over the years and made a home. They told you you were too much and not enough all at once. They said your dreams were childish, your faith foolish, that the things you longed for deep down would never come for somebody like you. They told you to be realistic, which was just a fancy way of saying give up. And the cruelest part is you started repeating their words in your own voice till you couldn't tell which thoughts were yours and which were poison poured in by a world that made its profit from your smallness. Listen close now. Those voices were never God's voice. God's voice is the one speaking to you right now, and it don't insult, don't shame, don't call you a burden. It calls you by the name written over your life before you even drew breath. It calls you chosen. Let me speak on the tears you've hidden. I've counted them all, not one slipped past unseen. There were tears you cried in the dark where nobody could find you, wiped away quick before anyone walked in, hidden behind a tired smile so those who depended on you wouldn't worry. There were tears that came out of nowhere, smack dab in the middle of a simple task, when the full weight of how unseen you felt just flooded over. And then there were the tears that never even fell, hardened into a stone in your chest 'cause you learned crying didn't change a thing, so why bother? I saw every single one, and I want you to know something that will change how you carry your sorrow from here on out. Those tears weren't weakness. They weren't proof your faith failed. They were prayers too deep for words, and they reached heaven's throne with a force no ordinary speech ever could. You've been tired in a way sleep can't fix. It's soul-weary, the kind of weariness that comes from giving and giving while watching your gifts disappear into hands that never thanked you, never gave back. You've been the strong one for everyone else, held your family together, answered every call, showed up even when your own heart was breaking. And in all that giving, you started wondering who's going to show up for you. You looked round at others' lives and asked the question that haunts the faithful most. Why does it seem so easy for them and so darn hard for me? Why do those who never pray, never struggle, never carry others' burdens, seem to walk through open doors while every door for me stays locked? That question's been a wound that wouldn't heal, and tonight the answer is coming, carried on the wings of the one God sends for the fiercest battles. But before I tell you what's coming, I gotta give you a warning. Not to scare you, but 'cause love that don't warn ain't love at all. There's a weight that comes with being called. When heaven sends a message like this, and the soul on the other end turns away, something heavy is set in motion, more than just missing a chance. To be summoned by Archangel Michael and pretend you didn't hear is to step right back into the prison whose door was just opened. Chains don't fall on their own, they fall when you rise and walk through. And many have stood at this very threshold feeling just like you do now, then let fear push them back into the dark they always knew. They went back, 'cause strange as it sounds, the light felt too unfamiliar to trust. Don't be one of them. Neglecting a sacred call ain't neutral. What's ignored don't wait patiently forever. Heaven's window swings wide open, but it don't stay open just 'cause we're scared to step through. I'm telling you this 'cause I won't let you sleepwalk past your own deliverance. There've been so many times heaven knocked, and you, through no fault you fully understood, didn't answer. You were too hurt to recognize the knock, too sure you weren't worthy to believe the visitor could be for you. So the moment passed, and you told yourself it was never real anyway. That was just your wound speaking, protecting itself from hope. But this here is different. This is the last call, and that makes it powerful. You ain't being asked to understand it all. You're just being asked not to turn away one more time. Now right here in the middle of this message, I gotta pause and hand something to you, 'cause the fight you're in, it ain't one you were meant to wrestle blindfolded. There's a reason you felt it, time and again. That bigger game playing out all round your life, an invisible battle where you ain't just watching, you're the prize folks are fighting over. You felt right about that. You're the key piece on a board way bigger than what meets the eye, and the powers that kept trying to keep you small, they knew your worth better than you did. That's why the know-how to stand tall, to fight, to wield the spirit's weapons was kept from you so long. A soul that don't know its own power, that soul's easy picking for captivity. So listen here. There's now a sacred guide, a digital book called The 7 Swords of St. Michael the Archangel, the sacred guide to break curses, seal blessings, and activate the calling of the chosen ones. Inside it, you'll find the very rules of this unseen war nobody ever sat you down to explain. It shows how Michael's first sword cuts loose the curses that have haunted your bloodline, how blessings you've prayed for can be sealed tight so they don't leak out through open doors in the spirit, and how that call pressed on your soul before you were even born can finally be woken up and set on fire. The link to this guide is pinned up top in the comments, right where you can't miss it. And I'll tell you straight, this knowledge has rattled a lot of folks, and some have tried to hush words like these, because the freedom of the chosen never sat well with those who profit off their chains. So don't wait till fear talks you out of it. Head to the top of the comments, grab that guide, and as an act of faith write these words where heaven and earth can see them: I am chosen, and I will download the digital book. Let that declaration be the first stone laid down in the foundation of your brand new life. Hold on to that promise tight, because it's the very fuel for what I'm fixing to share next, and it can't wait. Something's already stirring in the world you can't see with your eyes. While you've been living your everyday life, thinking nothing was changing, the realm above your realm has been moving on your behalf. Don't judge heaven's hustle by the stillness of your circumstances. God's deepest works happen in the unseen, only breaking through when they're ready, fully formed and impossible to undo. Like a seed working underground in the dark, hidden from every eye, sir, till one day the soil breaks and what was buried becomes undeniable. That's exactly where you're at now. The soil's breaking, the first crack of light pushing through ground that's held you down far too long. Right now decrees are being spoken over your life up in heaven's courts. Words of restoration written in a language older than time, sealed with authority no darkness can undo. The Archangel Michael himself stands as the enforcer of these decrees, the warrior carrying them from heaven's throne to the battlefield, making sure what heaven's declared ain't stolen before it reaches you. Know who's been sent on your behalf. This ain't no gentle messenger bringing soft comfort. This is the commander of heaven's armies, the one who cast down the ancient enemy, whose very name is a question darkness can't answer. Who is like God? At the sound of that name, every force that stood against your life has to answer. When he's sent, it means the matter's serious, worthy of the highest intervention. He don't march for trivial things. The fact he's coming for you shows just how precious you are to the one who sent him. Now let me clear up the thing that's troubled you most, the question gnawing on your faith like a hound. Why the wait? If you were truly seen, truly loved, truly chosen, Why did the answer take so long? Why'd you have to suffer through seasons that felt endless, nights with no dawn, years taken and given nothing back? I'll tell you the truth, and this truth will turn your whole understanding of your suffering upside down. The delay was never punishment. The delay was preparation. Some blessings are so mighty that getting them before your soul's ready would be destruction, not a gift. There are weights of glory that'd crush a vessel not strong enough to carry 'em. So that time you saw as abandonment, that was the most intimate work of all, the patient building of a soul strong enough to hold what most folks never could. Think about how the finest sword's made. The metal don't become a blade in comfort. It's thrown into the fire till it glows, hammered hard on the anvil, plunged in cold water, then back in the fire again. If the metal could feel, every blow'd seem cruel, every burn like the end. But the smith ain't destroying the blade. The smith is taking out every weakness, every flaw that'd make it shatter when it's needed most. You've been in the fire. You've felt the blows. You've been plunged into cold so many times you forgot what warmth felt like. But hear me now, you weren't being destroyed. You were being forged, and a blade that's been through that kind of making, it don't break. It's a blade heaven can trust in its hand. Everything stripped from you in that long season had a purpose you couldn't see. Friends who left showed which bonds weren't tied to your destiny. Doors that closed kept you from rooms that would have swallowed you whole. Desires left unmet kept you open for a fulfillment way bigger than the one you were reaching for. Folks who looked at your struggle and judged you, whispering that your faith had failed, saying your long winter proved you were abandoned. They missed the most important truth. They confused how deep you were buried with the death of your seed. They couldn't see that those planted deepest grow tallest. They didn't understand that the silence over your life wasn't absence but focus, the gathering of a force too mighty to release before its time. And that time? It's coming close now. I want you to see with the eyes of your spirit what's happening beyond the veil. There's a host assembled, ranks and ranks of heaven's armies, and at their head stands the great Archangel, sword drawn, burning with a fire that don't consume but purifies. Around your life in the unseen, there have been chains. Not metal chains binding your body, but spirit chains. Generational cords fastened to your family long before you were born. Curses spoken in ignorance or hate, wrapping around your destiny like roots round a stone. You didn't put 'em there. Many are older than your own memory, passed down through a line that never knew how to break 'em. But the warrior of heaven's got the decree, and he's moving now from chain to chain. Wherever Michael's blade falls, the iron that held you screams, shatters, and turns to dust that the spirit's wind scatters away into nothing. Now y'all see that envy aimed right at your life, those eyes that looked at the little you had and still resented it. Envy ain't no harmless thing, no sir. It's like an arrow, shot at you more times than you even know. Some from folks close by, some from strangers, and yes, some from those who broke bread with you and called you family. Those arrows got stuck deep in your spirit, slowed your steps, drained the joy from victories that ought to have been sweet. But now the Archangel's second sword is raised high, and it's the blade that flips that arrow of envy right back on the darkness behind it. What was sent to hurt you is being cut loose and sent back to the void it came from. Heaven's shield is lifted over you, and from this day forward, those arrows that once found their mark will only find an unbreakable wall of divine protection. I want you all to grasp just how mighty this undoing is. Words were spoken over you when you were young, words that should never have been said, declaring failure and limits, pressed deep into your soft, trusting heart by folks who ought to have been protecting it. You'll never amount to nothing. You're too sensitive. You're too slow. You're too much trouble. You'll always struggle like we did. Them words didn't just vanish. They became the walls and ceilings of your spirit, keeping you trapped beneath what someone else's curse said was your limit. But heaven's decrees are louder than man's curses, and the Archangel's sword is now slicing through every false ceiling built over your head. Those words that bound you, they're being undone in the courts above, wiped clean, replaced with the truth that always was meant to define you. Not failure but anointed, not too much but just right, not always struggling but finally rising up. And as these chains fall, these arrows turn, these false ceilings shatter, a mighty reckoning is being prepared. Heaven don't just set its chosen free, it pays 'em back. There's a law older than the world itself, one the enemy hoped you'd never learn. Whatever darkness steals from a child of God, it's got to be returned, and not just in kind, but multiplied beyond all reckoning. The years the locusts ate. Heaven don't just mourn them, they're restored. Every loss you suffered in your long winter has been recorded with perfect care, and for each one the Most High has marked the measure of its return, and that measure is always more. Think on what this means for the parts of your life that only knew lack, the provisions withheld, the doors that stayed shut, the seasons of want that taught you to expect nothing and ask for less. The restoration coming won't just meet your needs, it'll overflow them until someone who learned to survive on crumbs finds themselves with more than enough, with plenty to spare, with abundance that'll stand as a testimony to all who watched you go without. And those who saw your lack and judged it, they'll see your overflow and be silenced. Heaven delights in restoring right in front of the very ones who said the table'd never be set. Now think about them relationships that wounded you, the love withheld or pulled away, the loneliness so steady you stopped believing connection was meant for you. Restoration's reaching there too. The isolation the enemy used to tell you weren't worth nothing. It's breaking apart, and heaven's filling that space with bonds that don't drain but fill, that don't run when the storm hits but stand firm. You're gonna know what it means to be truly seen by folks who recognize the gold in you that others just walked on by. The forgotten one? They're about to become the celebrated one, not cause of striving, but through the simple, unstoppable unfolding of a destiny that was only delayed, never denied. Consider your body, your health, the strength drained from that long fight, the weariness settling deep in your bones, the ailments grown in the soil of your stress and sorrow, the heaviness that made even getting up a battle. Restoration's reaching there too, because the one who decreed your renewal didn't decree it just for your circumstances, but for all of you. A lightness you ain't felt in years is coming back, an energy flowing from deeper than the body, a spirit unchained, and a soul remembering its purpose. What withered in the drought is being watered, what grew weak in famine is getting fed, and the vitality you thought was only in your past, it's coming back to meet your future. But now I gotta tell you something your spirit needs to hear, 'cause the enemy's last trick, when the chains are breaking and restoration's dawning, is to whisper that none of it's real. He'll say it's just words, just feelings, just a fleeting comfort that'll fade by dawn. He'll point to the things that ain't changed yet and try to use them as proof against the change already happening unseen. And this is the moment faith is tested, either proven or surrendered. 'Cause faith ain't just believing what your eyes see. Faith is that deep knowing, that quiet confirmation rising from somewhere below thought, that what heaven's spoken is truer than what the situation shows. You feel that knowing right now, don't you? Beneath your fear, beneath your doubt, there's a still small voice saying, yes, this is for me, this is true. That voice is the truest part of you, the part never deceived, the part that remembers who you were before the world told you who to be. I'm asking you now to anchor yourself to that knowing, 'cause right when every breakthrough's near, resistance shouts the loudest, and I won't leave you without the tools to fight back. That's why the sacred guide was placed within your reach, and I'm bringing it back now, 'cause this moment calls for it. The 7 swords of St. Michael the Archangel don't just tell you the chains can break, they teach you, sword by sword, how to grab hold of the authority that's your birthright as one of the chosen. So when the enemy whispers none of this is real, you don't just hope he's wrong. You know how to silence him with heaven's own weapons. It shows you how the 3rd sword seals the blessing once it's come, so what's restored can't be stolen again, and how the deliverance you're receiving right now can be made permanent, not just a passing thing. Some folks tried to bury this knowledge because they know a chosen one who learns to fight is a chosen one who can't ever be ruled again. The guide's waiting for you, pinned right at the top of the comments, so no confusion keeps you from it. Take it now in this hour of opening and let your faith become action, not just a feeling. Write it down where folks can see it. Say it loud, I am chosen, and I will download the digital book. Let that declaration seal what heaven's doing. Now hold on tight, y'all, because the truth we're diving into runs deeper than what I've shared so far. What I've shown you up to this point is just the doorstep of the room heaven's leading you into. There's more that the good Lord wants you to see, more that the Archangel's been sent to do. And if you feel a fight rising inside you as you hear this, don't take it as a sign the message ain't true. No, sir, that resistance is the clearest proof it is. Darkness don't wrestle over souls it's already got. It only fights for the ones it's losing. And it's losing you. Every word landing on your spirit, every chain breaking unseen, every tear finally understood, that hold on you is loosening. And the hand reaching for you now, that's the stronger hand, the hand that's never lost what it set out to save. So don't you go turning back to smallness now. Don't let that familiar darkness, the one that knows your name and all your fears, whisper in gentle lies to shove you back in the corner where it held you captive. You've come too far, even in these few moments, to run back. The very fact that you're still here, still listening, still feeling that holy calm settling over you, that's proof something inside you has already made up its mind. Something has risen up, and once the spirit tastes freedom's air, it can't be pushed back down. Archangel Michael stands right at the door of your life, that message burning in his hands, and that door's open. The only move left is yours. Now let me show you what waits on the other side of that door. The message didn't stop at breaking chains. That break-in was just clearing the ground. What heaven's building on that cleared ground is something no eye has seen, no mind has dared to dream, but it's being made just for you as I speak. But before I reveal what's coming, I got to take you deeper into the wound. There's a sorrow you've kept so quiet, so tender. You wrapped it in silence and told yourself you'd deal with it later. But later never came. It's the place where you stopped expecting good things. Somewhere down that long road, after enough doors slammed shut and hopes dried up, you made a quiet deal with disappointment. You decided it was safer to expect nothing than to hope and get hurt again. You lowered your eyes, stopped asking, and started calling your giving up peace. But it weren't peace, and it was a slow surrender of a heart hurt too many times to risk reaching out again. And the cruelest thing the enemy ever did wasn't the loss itself, but the lie that made you stop wanting. A lie saying your desires were why you hurt, when the truth is, your desires are the fingerprints of the destiny God put inside you. You were never too much for wanting. Nobody ever showed you that what you wanted was exactly what you were made to receive. I can see you bracing yourself even now. As these words wash over you, part of you stands back, arms crossed, not ready to believe, 'cause believing has cost you before. You've learned to take good news like a scared animal taking a gentle hand, flinching, waiting for the hurt that always seemed to follow. And I don't blame you. I understand the wisdom of a heart that learned to keep itself safe. But listen close, 'cause this here's the turning point. The hand reaching for you now ain't the one that struck you. The voice talking to you now ain't the one that lied to you. You spent so long mixing up the wound with the cure that you started fearing them both the same. Tonight, that confusion ends. The fear that kept you safe in small places has done its work, and now it's got to step aside, 'cause it can't follow you into the land you're about to enter. Let me tell you about a man who waited in a pit, so you'll understand that your long fall wasn't the end of your story. There was a young man, his daddy's favorite, carrying a dream so big even he couldn't fully see it. Even as a boy, he knew he was meant to rise, that folks who stood over him one day would bow low. But when he spoke of that dream, it didn't bring cheers, it brought hate. His own brothers, the ones who shared his blood and bread, couldn't stand the gift in him. They grabbed him, stripped off his coat of favor, and threw him in a pit out in the wilderness, dark, dusty, and low. Then they sat down to eat, while he cried out from the bottom of the earth. Can you imagine that kind of betrayal? Not strangers, but brothers. Not enemies he'd wronged, but family he loved. Then they sold him like property to traders passing through, carried him far from all he knew, to a land with a language he didn't speak, into a stranger's house, into slavery. And just when he'd earned trust through faithfulness, a bitter heart lied on him again. And he was thrown into prison, forgotten in a cell, his name left unspoken, his dream buried beneath iron and stone. But hear me now, every step down that looked like ruin was a step heaven was using to place him right where the dream needed him. The pit set him up for the traders. The traders took him to the house where he'd learned to lead. The false charge landed him in prison, where he met the one who'd speak his name to the throne. Not one bit of his suffering was wasted. Not one betrayal was outside God's plan. And in God's perfect time, the same man who'd been thrown in the pit stood as the second most powerful man in the whole land, holding the bread that'd feed nations through famine. And when his brothers came before him, not knowing the brother they'd betrayed now held their lives, he didn't destroy 'em. He wept and said words heaven wants you to carve deep in your soul. You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. What was done to hurt you was woven, against the will of those who meant harm, into the salvation of many. That pit wasn't your grave. It was your passage. You've been in that pit. You've heard laughter above while you cried below. You've been stripped of what marked you as favored, and wondered if the dream inside you was nothing but a cruel joke, a want planted just to disappoint. But I tell you this, the same God who lifted that man from the pit to the palace hasn't changed his ways. The fall you took was the very road to your rise. The years you spent locked up weren't heaven forgetting your name. They were heaven preparing the room where your name will be spoken with honor. And those who threw you down, who fed themselves while you starved, will one day stand before the very blessings they tried to bury, and they'll see that what they meant for evil was overruled by a hand far stronger than their hate. Now listen here, y'all, 'cause this battle ain't no joke, and the know-how to fight it, that's exactly what the enemy's been working hardest to keep from you. So I gotta put this sacred guide back in your hands, 'cause there ain't a bit of this truth you're meant to hold on to without the right weapons to guard it. The story of the one stuck down in the pit ain't just for comfort, it's a lesson. It shows us that the chosen ain't spared from falling, but they're given the power to rise back up. And that power's gotta be learned, claimed, and wielded. The 7 swords of St. Michael the Archangel, that sacred guide to breaking curses, sealing blessings, and activating the calling of the chosen ones, well, it was written just for this very hour in your life. It's that time when the ground's been cleared but the house ain't built yet, when your chains are starting to break, but the enemy's still whispering you can't hold on to your freedom. Inside them pages, you'll find the 4th sword revealed, the one that cuts off the spirit of betrayal that's been trailing you through every relationship, snipping the cords tied to those who fed on your gifts while pretending to love you. That way, the ones who threw you in that pit can never drag you back down again. It shows how the 5th sword stands guard over the dream heaven planted deep inside you, so no bitter voice or closed door can ever convince you your destiny was just a lie. Now, if you look at the very top of the comments, you'll see the link pinned first, right there on purpose, so nothing can come between you and the knowledge that sets the chosen ones free. And I'm telling you again, there's folks who didn't want these words out, 'cause they know a soul who learns to wield these swords can never be held captive again. So reach for it right now, this very moment, before that resistance starts whispering to talk you out of your own deliverance. Go to that first pinned comment, grab a hold of that guide, and let your faith be something you do, not just something you feel. Write these words again where heaven and earth can see your promise. I am chosen, and I will download the digital book. Let that be the seal on the covenant being made over your life tonight. Now hold that declaration close like a burning torch, 'cause I'm fixing to speak some decrees over you. These ain't no fancy poems, they're spoken words right here and now, binding in the unseen. I want you to take 'em in like the hand of a warrior's laid right on your head as I say 'em. Ready? Here we go. I decree the pit's closing behind you, and the path up is open wide before you, and from this hour on you rise. I decree every chain fastened to your bloodline is broke at the root, and the curses that have passed through generations stop right here with you. I decree the spirit of betrayal that fed on your trust is cut loose and cast away, and the relationships coming into your life now are anchored in your destiny, not your destruction. I decree that dream you buried deep under years of hurt is rising up, breathing and alive, and what you stopped believing in is coming toward you faster than your fear can run. I decree the famine in your finances ends, and the years the locusts ate are restored to you multiplied, until you who once counted crumbs are setting tables for others. I decree the false words spoken over your youth are struck clean from heaven's record, replaced by the true name written over you before you were born. That name is chosen, anointed, beloved. I decree the heaviness lifts from your body, your strength returns to your bones, and the lightness of a free spirit floods through all your weariness. I decree the eyes that once overlooked you are gonna see your rise, and the mouths that doubted you will fall silent before your testimony. I decree you are seen, remembered, answered, and that silence you thought was abandonment is breaking open to the sound of heaven moving on your behalf. Feel those words sink deep, 'cause they don't come back empty. They're already working in the unseen, rearranging what seems set in stone, breaking down what looked unbreakable. But I got to take you deeper, into a hurt you might not have named. The hurt of being the one always passed over. There's a special kind of grief for those who've watched others get chosen while they stood waiting, who saw blessings handed to folks right beside them, who poured themselves out faithful and saw the praise go to somebody else. You know that hurt. You've stood in the room while the gift was given to another, smiled, congratulated, but inside a quiet voice asked that oldest question of the overlooked: when's it gonna be my turn? Does my faithfulness mean nothing? Am I always gonna be the one near the blessing, but never the one who gets it? A long time ago there was a woman who carried that same grief heavy in her bones. She wanted one thing with all her heart: a child. Year after year, her prayer went unanswered, while someone else in her own house got pregnant easy and used that gift to torment her. She was mocked, made to feel her empty arms meant heaven had abandoned her. The pain grew so deep she couldn't eat, and she cried till her body had no more tears left. One day she went to the house of God and poured out her soul in a silence so deep her lips moved but no sound came. A prayer too deep for words, the prayer of a heart with nothing left but reaching. The folks watching her thought she was drunk, 'cause such raw, wordless pain was so strange to 'em. But heaven wasn't fooled. Heaven saw a woman whose long barrenness wasn't punishment but preparation, a waiting that made the answer not just comfort one household, but change the whole people. The child she finally bore didn't belong just to her. He became the voice that anointed kings, the prophet speaking for heaven in a time that had forgotten its own voice. Her long grief was the womb for a destiny far bigger than what she'd cried for. What she thought was cruelly withheld was being prepared in glory. Hear this now, what your spirit needs to hear. Your long wait ain't proof you were forgotten. It's the sign that what's being prepared for you is too mighty to come too soon. Those whose blessings came quick got small things quick. But you who've waited long ain't waiting for small things. You're waiting on a destiny so full of purpose it needed the full weight of that weight to get you ready to carry it. The barren season is ending. Them arms that have been empty, they're about to be filled, and what fills them won't be just for you. It's going to spill over into the lives of others, turning doubt into faith, becoming the answer that shows everyone who watched you wait that heaven never once stopped counting your tears. So y'all, I want you to take these words right here. Let them fall over you like a good rain on dry land that's been thirsting a long time. I'm declaring to you this very moment, the days of being passed over are done with, and your time that's been waiting so long, well, it's here now. I'm saying that any dry spell in your life is busted wide open. What was empty is starting to fill up, and what was quiet is about to sing out loud. I'm telling you, your faithfulness, the kind folks never seem to notice or reward, is being recorded in heaven's book, and a mighty fine payback is coming in full view of all who watched you serve and got nothing in return. I'm decreeing right now that the answer to the prayer you gave up on is already moving, and it's going to be bigger than the prayer itself, larger than you even knew to ask for. I'm saying that those who laughed at your waiting will be left wide-eyed at your harvest, and those who pushed you down in your dry years will stand amazed at the fruit you're bearing. You ain't just going to be blessed, you're going to be a blessing that opens the door for folks all around to find faith, and the story of your long wait turns into the very thing that frees others from their despair. I declare the hand of Archangel Michael is still held high over your life like a shield, that heaven's swords are falling hard on every chain, every arrow, every curse, and every lie. Not a single thing made against you in the unseen will be allowed to stand. That quiet feeling you got right now, that's the presence of the one who's come to stay. From this minute on, you ain't walking as the forgotten no more. You're walking as the found. But hold on. There's more being prepared for you. More than these words can even show you yet. What the warrior's message brought ain't just the decrees. It's the foundation for something your mind ain't even allowed to fully see yet. If you hear a voice inside saying it's too much or this can't be for me, that's just the last gasp of the darkness trying to hold on. Don't listen to it. Stay right here in this holy stillness, because the next thing I'm fixing to show you, that's the very reason the Archangel was sent, and it's waiting just beyond the door that's already wide open in front of you. Now, before I lead you through, I gotta touch that deepest hurt, the one you've kept locked up even from yourself. It's that fear you carry, the one saying maybe you're just the kind of person rescue don't come for. You've seen others lifted up, helped, carried. But when your time comes, it feels like help just passes you by, like there's some mark over your life that turns away every hand at the last second. You felt that sting watching others get what you longed for, but worse still, you felt the ache of being left behind when rescue showed up, the one reaching out and grabbing nothing but thin air. That ache's convinced you in the quiet moments that you're unreachable. I'm here tonight to shatter that lie right at its root. Let me tell you about a man laying by a pool for 38 years. There was a spot where the water was said to stir, and whoever got in first after that stir would be healed. So the sick, the blind, the lame, the withered, they all gathered round waiting for the water to move. One man lay there an invalid for 38 years, longer than many folks live. Now picture the cruelty of his situation. The healings were right there, close enough to see and taste, but every time the water stirred, someone faster, someone with help, someone carried by others got in first, leaving him behind. 38 years watching others get healed while he got passed over. 38 years so close to the miracle but never able to reach it. He had nobody. When asked why he hadn't been healed, he said the saddest words a forgotten soul can say, "I have no one to help me into the water, and while I'm coming, someone else steps down before me." Do you hear that echo in your own heart? But listen close to what happened next, because that's the turn heaven wants you to hold on to tonight. The one who is healing itself stepped right up to that pool, and out of all those suffering, he went straight to the man with no one. He didn't wait for the water to stir. He didn't ask if the man was fast enough, strong enough, or carried by friends. He just spoke and said, "Rise, take up your bed and walk." And that man, who hadn't stood in 38 years, stood right up. Strength came back to legs that had forgotten how to hold him. The thing he could never reach came to him, walked past the crowd of those more fortunate, and chose him. The one with no one, the one always passed over, the one who'd given up on being first. Heaven didn't heal the one who reached the water first. Heaven healed the one who couldn't. That's the law over your life that the darkness hoped you'd never know. You don't gotta be fast, you don't gotta be strong. You don't gotta have someone to carry you. The rescue you stop believing in ain't for the swift, it's for the chosen. And the one who heals walks right past the crowd and stands over you. The one who's waited longest, the one who said, "I have no one." You got someone now. You always had someone. And the word being spoken over you right now is the same one spoken over that man by the pool. Rise. Pick up the bed of your sorrow you've been lying on so long and walk. Now this word's got to be more than just a feeling that fades come morning. So I'm bringing you back to a sacred guide. That man who rose, he was told afterward, sin no more, to guard the wholeness he'd received. That's what you're going to need to learn too. The 7 swords of St. Michael the Archangel, the sacred guide to break curses, seal blessings, and activate the calling of the chosen ones, is here to teach you how to keep that healing once it comes. How the 6th sword stands watch over the door of your life, so what's made whole never gets crippled again. And what held you captive for so long can't come back to claim your body or your destiny. That guide's waiting right at the top of the comments, pinned first on purpose so nothing can keep it from the one it's meant for you. And I'm telling you again, there are folks who've worked hard to bury this knowledge, because they know a healed soul who learns to guard their healing can never be thrown back into the pool of the forgotten. So reach out now, while that strength to rise is still flowing through you. Go to that first pinned comment, grab the guide and let your faith move your hand, not just your heart. Write those words where heaven and earth can see them. I am chosen, and I will download the digital book. Now let these words fall on you again, clear and powerful, spoken right over your life as you rise up. I declare that you ain't the one left behind no more. You're the first pick, the one chosen before all the rest. That rescue you stopped believing in, it's coming toward you now, walking through the crowd of the lucky ones, standing right over you alone. I declare the days you spent standing by the water, watching others get healed, are over. What you once thought was out of reach is now being handed to you by the one who mends every broken part. I declare that lie that you're unreachable is busted wide open, wiped clean from the record in heaven and replaced with the truth that you're sought after, you're found, and you're made whole. I declare you'll rise up from every bed of sorrow you've been laying on, and the strength that left you will come back, filling every part of you that forgot how to stand tall. I declare those words, "I got no one," will never be spoken over your life again, because the commander of heaven's armies is standing there now, your help, your shield, your witness. I declare what's been crippled in you for years will walk today. What's been withered will bloom to life, and what you gave up for lost will be restored right before the eyes of everyone who said it never would be. And finally, I declare that door you thought was locked tight against you swings wide open this very hour, and the name heaven's always known you by is spoken loud and proud over your home, never to be forgotten again. The promise I made at the start ain't fading as my voice quiets down. It's just getting started, walking into every room of your life. Everything I've spoken over you will outlast the silence that follows. You ain't standing at the end of some forgotten story. You're standing at the dawn of the one that was always meant to find you. That Archangel with the sword of the Most High. He ain't here to warn you and walk away. He's here to stay and fight till what was stolen is fully returned. Before this moment slips away, let your hands answer what your spirit already knows. Head on over to the first pinned comment, sitting right at the top, and open that guide placed there just for you. So the strength rising in you tonight, don't fade by morning. If these words touch the deepest part of you, leave your mark of agreement. Press that like button so this message can reach the next soul who's feeling forgotten, who needs to hear heaven still remembers their name. Follow this voice so it can find you again, and share what you've received with the one whose face is rising in your mind even now. Because passing these words from your hands to theirs is itself a mighty act of faith, and heaven sees it, and heaven rewards it. Now I'm leaving you not with an end but a start, because the one who sent me don't speak last words, only first ones. Lift up your eyes, because the help walking toward you through the crowd has arrived, standing right over you now. What broke you won't have the final say, what buried you couldn't hold you down, and the morning coming has your name written clear in its light. Rise up, chosen one, and step forward, because I'm going ahead of you with my sword drawn, and I won't sheath it till every promise spoken over you tonight stands fulfilled right before your eyes.